Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
And Sam, what's up, beautiful humans?
Yo. We have a topic that I don't know if you clicked on this because you saw the teaser of what we're talking about. And I really want to embrace this topic as one that we feel like more people should be talking about, right? So how we picked this topic is somebody got a new tattoo recently. What does it say?
Through that.
We are all just here to walk each other home. That's what Sam's new tattoo says on her forearm, her left forearm. We are all just here to walk each other home. What is the inspo behind that, my dear? What are we talking about?
Right. It is a Buddhist saying, so that's the roots of it. It most resonates enough with me, enough for me to put it on my body. So this is a big deal because the only other tattoo I have on my body is Iron Man and Ultra Woman on my back. This saying, quote, philosophy is so incredibly important to me and means so much to me, and as I want it to be a daily reminder and actually a constant reminder. That's why I put it where I put it, so I could read it. By the way, this isn't for the outside world, because you actually don't see it if I have my arms down or whatever, but I see it. This is for me. Exactly. And what it means is that gentle, loving reminder that everything is impermanent, which is the foundation of Buddhism also. And that in the reality of that impermanence, it's everything around us, of course, myself and my physical body and my life and you and everybody that I love, but everything is impermanent. And in that deep knowing and actually becoming at peace with that reality, what rang very true for me was just my own way of being in the world, and what I want to continue to do into my last days is to be with people, completely present, completely engaged, completely in knowing them, understanding them, being with them as we walk home together.
I love that. I love that. And so I'll share what sparked our conversation that led to, well, obviously your tattoo, that was like a, whoa, check this out moment. And then I think I was down, so I took a train ride down and train ride back this week in California where I live to visit a friend whose mom passed away a couple days ago. And so to comfort her in her grief and just be there and whatever she needed. So you and I have been in yet another conversation around the word loss, which I don't love that word, as it, it's something that we use in our culture, but just the process and my experience of being around her and her family and what that was like. And so we're like, well, we should talk about this, and she shared with me, or maybe now's a good time, I'll just talk about so her mom was in her mid 80s, and she actually created a beautiful, so this is dedicated to my friend Nissa, just I'll say that, and to her mom, Gale. So she created this beautiful social media channel a couple years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, to just forget how she and I talked about it. And she just was like, oh, I'm going to post these. So we had an inspo because I lost my cat, Pisa passed away. Her dog was still around. I was like, girl, you need to start taking videos of Tedder the Cheddar before something happened. That's his name, Tedder Cheddar, or Teddy, before he passes, because we don't know when the last time is, and I want you to have enough memories of him. So she's just a whiz at creativity and social media. So she started a little Teddy, social media channel. Started doing that. And then I don't know when she got the inspiration to start doing it for her mom, but she was spending a lot of time. Planet Gale, check it out.
So good.
So like within the first, I think it was in the first 2 weeks, it shot up. Like she was like, oh my God, I've got 10,000 followers. I was like, your what? Your mom's talk, what? And then all of a sudden it was like over 300,000 followers. She's got this whole...
Grannies are having a moment, dude. Grannies are having a freaking moment.
And it's aggressive kindness was what her mom was about. Or that's
so good.
So she was on TV, bro. She was on like the local news and came and interviewed her because her thing every day she had missions. I was talking to her this week and she's like, man, every day my mom had a mission. She was like, okay, I'm going to the fire department. I'm going to the doctor's office with Oreos and snacks from Costco and plums from her tree or whatever. And it was just all about being out in the world, giving, 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 giving. Like anybody that she came into contact with, it was aggressive. Like she's like, "Oh no, this is really good." They're like, "No, we're okay." She's like, "Oh, you should try it. It's unopened. It's totally, it's so cute." And she's this little tiny thing with tie-dye head to toe, just, in a hippie
That's freaking
loving.
incredible. I hope someone follows my old ass around and takes videos of my adventures, because I'm going to be doing some weird shit. I'm already doing some weird shit.
Forrester. Yeah, yeah. Hint,
Exactly.
hint. Mom needs a
I'll be around with a video camera, be like, where's she going today? We'll see when we get there.
And so her journey the last few years, so she moved down to Oceanside, California. This is probably 5 years ago. Moved mom with her, and mom went into assisted living maybe a year ago, I think. Maybe not even that long ago. Just was getting too hard to be on her own. She was still driving, all that stuff, but just started having more and more health challenges, but still up at, first thing in the morning, going out, getting to her Trader Joe's, and she'd come over to our house with all sorts of stuff. But there was this, so as I was with her this week, so I'm going to tell you, so that's the backstory of, caring for mom, going to all mom's doctor's appointments, doing this channel for mom, and it was a growth for her. Like at the end, she and I had about a 45-minute cry the week her mom passed away on Monday. We had about a 45-minute cry on Saturday when she's like, "Yeah, mom's dying," when she knew. And we both have that abrasive, kind of time with our mom. So we always bonded on that. And I was like, I really appreciate what you've done for your mom's channel, because you have so not only shared her with the world, but you get her now. And she goes, "Polly, I finally let her in."
Wow.
Like she finally let her in, and she got who her mom was, different than how she saw her, and she's so quirky and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if mom just wore her down or whatever, but so, and she's at the end just was not that.
It was that aggressive kindness. It worked.
Yeah, just being around it so much. She's like, "Wait a minute, maybe this isn't the person I think it is," right?
Being around the human and spending the time. Yeah. Like my tattoo says, we're walking each other home now. Meaning in real time, this moment together, you and I, the listener currently, like every day in our everyday moments, we're on the path. Why aren't we letting people in?
Yeah.
Right? Well, letting them see us
and
just
all the
like
story,
we see them.
So there's all this, before this channel, and then as she walked through this channel and sharing all these posts about her mom, she's telling her mom's story, right? She's telling the story, she's weaving the story. So she wove it, and she said, as my mom got older towards the end, I would tell her stories because she would forget them, or she would forget pieces of, a little bit of Alzheimer's and stuff. And I was like, yeah, she was teaching you, she was training you, to remember her stories and her. Yeah. So, so maybe we'll work backwards. So what I saw as I went down to visit with her was just exhaustion, right? That post-grief exhaustion. And she sent me a text after. She's like, "I talked to ChatGPT and this is what it is." And there's this post that comes for her. It's like, "What is grief fatigue?" Right? And so ChatGPT, it's all prim and proper. It's like, "Grief fatigue is the body and mind's natural response to the immense emotional, physical, and nervous system effort required to love someone all the way through death."
Wow, that's beautiful.
Pretty fucking profound. Thank you very much, right? Yeah. It's not the numb disassociation of shock. It's not like, "Oh my God, the loss," right? Which is more like a disconnection. It's a kind of earned exhaustion, a deep depletion after having poured yourself out so completely.
Whoa.
I was like, this is some profound shit, right?
Yeah.
Grief. Yeah. So signs of grief fatigue, just, this is what it looked like. So needing low or no stimulation. She's like, "I can't look at my phone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go outside, really, whatever. Sounds light, conversations feel abrasive. And I could just tell, I was like, just want to be there. And you know how you might be chatty Cathy trying to fill the space and stuff. I was like, she wants to
Don't
talk,
do it.
we talk. She doesn't, we doesn't. So I wasn't like initiating conversation, trying to get her like, the coach in me, when somebody's going through something, you just want them to talk about it and stuff. Not in this situation. Nope. Nope.
It's too soon.
They crave rest and doing nothing. Like we literally watched a couple of episodes of some random show
Random
she
show.
was binge. Yeah, it was just like,
Mm-hmm.
just so her mind could, like her nervous system could be at ease, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so you feel mostly okay. You're very fragile, not actively sobbing. So she wasn't like, we did a little bit of that on Saturday, the beforehand, not in denial, but with a deep underlying awareness of the loss,
Mm-hmm.
right? Strong sense of mental and emotional limits. She was like, yep, I can't do that with you guys. Like, go to the whatever. Like she wanted to go get a massage. She's like, I'm just gonna go get a massage and I want it this way and that's it. And
Mm-hmm.
body feeling heavy, slow, lower energy. And then why it happens. Your body has moved through anticipatory grief for weeks or months
Or years.
or years. Like
Mm-hmm.
when is it going to happen? Never
Mm-hmm.
knowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of things like that. So yeah, you held immense amounts of vigilance and advocacy energy,
That's empowering.
right? Like
That's empowering.
advocating for that person that, especially in the dementia or in the cancer when they're weakened. And,
Yeah.
my
Healthcare.
mom, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like that, experienced deep waves of raw grief during the active dying process, right? Especially towards the end when you can see it, like you know it's coming. You understood the finality of the passing, which brings an emotional collapse moment where the system finally is allowed to release. Just like, okay, after this marathon of love and loss, your nervous system essentially says, okay, we cannot run on this level anymore. We need to turn down the volume. We need deep rest. We need space to process this in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all ChatGPT. I was like, holy smokes, that's pretty damn good.
That's very good for
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
So share some, so that's what I walked into and just it was about holy space,
Yeah.
giving myself permission not to initiate conversations, have to do like don't need to dote over or whatever, just being, right?
I mean, I guess the obvious thing to backtrack just a little bit is like this can happen in so many different ways, but it
Mm,
is inevitable it will happen to all of us.
yeah.
So just being like, this is true for all of us.
Mm,
And then how it can happen differently for different people is it can be a sudden death or loss. We'll just call it death. It's passing. It can be
mm,
sudden and
mm,
shocking, and that comes with its own experience. It can be prolonged,
mm.
watching the person you
Painful.
love
Yeah, or
suffer
painful.
in pain
Yeah.
or with health challenges or psychological challenges. It can also happen in a way where the person is, in cases of like dementia or Alzheimer's, slowly leaving you,
Yeah.
physically not leaving you,
Before they've
emotionally.
left. Before they've left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways that this can happen, but it will
Mm,
happen to all of us. And for some of us, it will happen a lot and frequently. And
mm,
for others, it'll happen very little. It's just different. But the point is, we all are going to experience this
mm.
at some point,
If we haven't already. Right.
if
Right.
we haven't already, and many, many times. So learning some skills and
Mm,
also just having that really deep understanding for this really basic truth that
yeah.
we're all going through this together
Mm-hmm.
allows each of us to be able to have conversations about it. So, what
Mm,
I want the most from this podcast today is for people to be able to talk about it.
yeah.
I've experienced a lot of death all the way from starting at 10 all the way through. And I mean, I can think of 30 people, and these are all within arm reach of me. And it
Wow.
could be fast, quick losses that are traumatic, all the way to their prolonged suffering experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And until I was many, many years down the pipeline in adulting, I really didn't talk about it, stuffed it down, just keep moving, don't know what to say, don't know how to process all of those things. As I became more of my own self through, you know, evolving myself, personal growth, I started to slowly chip away at making terms with all of this kind of stuff, you
Mm,
know? And
mm,
then in this recent foray into understanding Buddhism and just a different way of thinking in the world, I'm really comfortable having these conversations, showing up to these spaces.
mm,
And I don't, and even in some cases, like you and I had, and I've had several friends, unfortunately, that have committed suicide. Like
mm.
sometimes that person takes their own life, and that's a whole other experience for us to
For all
be
the people left behind. Yeah.
part of in grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially
So
parents. Oh my gosh, the parents and the children. Oh,
it
yeah.
just wears so many different coats. And
Mm,
there's cultural upbringing, there's religious upbringing and ideas. There's things on top of it that will impact how we think about it, how we relate to it, how we do or do not process it. So we just want to sort of say to everybody that we respect wherever they're at. There's no
mhm,
right and wrong here.
mhm.
There is definitely a reality that it's true for all of us. We will experience this, and however you want to go about that, we're just here to
Mhm.
spark a conversation and kind of open a door up for healing.
Yeah, it's really a conversation that we wanted to have. And based on, you getting that tattoo. And then this week, I'm right in parallel over here in, supporting a friend in grief. And you in the background have a brother who's, been fighting his battle with cancer. You've got a mother-in-law who's, in her late 90s or mid 90s. I've got an aunt and uncle, having health challenges greater and greater here and there. So, and my mom who had a heart attack and second one in the hospital, resuscitated from death on life support for 2 days. It's like, okay, having these moments, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I, even like you said, we respect wherever anyone is at. This is a conversation. This isn't a judgment. This isn't a listen to us. We have all the answers, but it's an inquiry. It's a discovery. It's for us to discover more about what is for us, And I remember the first, well, I do remember the first animal dying, right? You talked about that.
Mm.
And I remember the first in-law. He was a 90-year-old great great uncle, not too much related, but whatever. And I was actually caretaking for him in right after college. So like I was he was in the next bedroom, right? So like,
Mm.
and looking after him for years before that. So, there's also that phase of that caretaking. Like you said, if it's sudden or surprising or instantaneous, you don't have, well, there's different levels of your response to that. But what I
Mm.
have seen people that I know, like especially my mom with my stepdad, his decline with Parkinson's towards the end and other little some things, the last 3 years, seeing him just the body, breaking down, if you will, right? And her having to care more, put his shirt on because he couldn't tie his buttons, and then feeding and the da, 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 and the relief sometimes that the person leaving gives to the person who's the caretaker, right? And God bless our caretakers. The caretaker needs caretaking too,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I'm just speaking about myself, my own experience. When I have been part of the caretaking journey and in whatever capacity, and being able to bear witness to the lead up
Yeah.
of an inevitable passing, it felt like an incredible gift, not a
Mm.
burden.
Yeah.
And it was
Especially
it can
or
be a
both.
burden
Or
financially and time and energy. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there's a realization and a slow progression to having conversations. My mom had cancer twice, so
mm,
literally she was sick from the age I was 9
mm,
until she died at 67.
mm,
So just that's a very prolonged situation, but at the end it became very, very evident when she could no longer breathe on her own, right? And even before that, we were nearing the end of this journey.
mhm,
So the gift of being able to spend time, have conversations, be with in silence, be of support, whatever, just allowed me and has allowed me in other cases to work away, chip away almost at how do I feel about this? Am I going to be at peace with this? Is there anything I need to say
mm,
to myself or to this individual that I'm
mm,
caring for? And that's incredible to me when you have those opportunities. I mean, it's just, it can be totally magical. And I hope that more people give themselves that gift, even if
mm,
it's someone they don't talk to for whatever reason, to be able to make peace with it on their own terms is
mm,
incredibly powerful.
mm. I'm picturing as you said that like rip the duct tape off your mouth, right? So like we have this like invisible duct tape that we walk around the people that we love that mm, can't say something, whatever that is, like a forgiveness, a regret, I love you, or whatever, it's just like this invisible duct tape that prevents us, right? And it's all in it's all in our mind. I remember when my mom was in the hospital here a couple months ago, she was on life support and didn't know if she was going to wake up from that. So I ripped the duct tape off.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Couldn't,
yeah.
who knows? I don't think, subconsciously, whatever, subliminally hurt or whatever. But I'll be damned, she did wake up from,
Yeah.
and I said the things again. I fucking said, if I can take that damn duct tape off
Then.
when she can't
Mhm.
hear, I'm a fucking stand for being strong enough to get these, it's words.
It's your truth.
It's words,
It's
right?
your truth.
Yeah. And that's been opening up new dimensions with my mom, right? So, like,
Totally.
take that damn duct tape off of your mouth, say
Mhm.
the things to the people that matter left and right of you, hug them, touch them, look them in the eyes, be with them, spend time with them. Like this past weekend, there was a lot going on in my life, and I hadn't been in person with my mom in a couple weeks, and I recognized that. And it was like a thing to go visit her, like 45 minutes up there. And I called her and she's like, I'm in bed. And, I was like, well, I'm going to bring you coffee. And I just wouldn't take no for an answer. I was like, I'm going to see her. Like those ripping the duct tape off or whatever the obstacles between me and her were. I get there. She's like, oh, look, I showered. I'm up. And, and it was like, God damn it. Like just being a cause in my life to create connection in those moments that she could have fallen the next day. And like, I've been like, oh, I didn't go see my mom yesterday. Like, no, I did. I did
And
that thing.
can I just make a bold statement to the listener that don't wait to be invited?
Mm, yeah.
Don't wait to be invited.
Set
I
yourself.
just have made a commitment to myself over the last, I don't know, 10 years, maybe even, that I just invite myself
Mm,
back into these relationships that are maybe have gone to sleep or whatever, last connection, or people that I'm in connection with, but I'm not getting to have quality time with,
mm,
right? And
mhm,
this whole idea, these stories we make up in our head of, like this happened with a good friend of mine who was in a cancer battle several times. And everybody kind of rode, our friend group rode the waves with her. But
mm,
then at the end, when literally she was getting this cancer is reoccurring and recurring, and
mm.
there was really no more treatment available, everybody just disappeared.
Oh,
And it was because they were so, I think, sad and didn't know what to say. And it was like this really harsh reality of like, she's the warrior, she's battling, she's winning, da, 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 we're rallying, rallying, rallying. There's nothing to rally behind anymore. Fuck that.
mm, mm,
Rallying behind her entire journey and the
mm,
fact that she's still with us. And it was difficult because she was a little bit resistant to having anybody come and see her. And she was very sad and very distraught. And it was incredibly painful. And I'm not saying I forced my way in, but I
yeah,
basically just said, I'll freaking wait it out and sit in the car in front of my house until you're ready. And if I sit here all day today and you give me 5 minutes at the door, then that's what I'm going to take.
exactly. That's how I was with my friend. I took a train down there. I rushed down the next day and I got the message, oh, we don't want to see visitors today. I was like, well, I'll just be, I'm in a
Hanging out.
Airbnb nearby. You just say when you feel like it, and I'll just be ready. I'll be waiting for you. And the next day, okay, come over at, noon. And it was like, okay. And it was like low key,
Yeah.
totally get that. They
Yeah.
set the tone, right? You follow it, but
Exactly.
you they want support more than they sometimes know. Some don't, granted, everybody's in a different phase and stuff like that. So honor people's requests. And also, like like you said, don't take no necessarily for an answer, especially when they're healthy and everything's fine and they're just are excuses about not to see you or get together. It's like, no, 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 we're getting together. We're doing,
Well,
and
like what you did, we'll just sit and watch TV, or we'll just sit and whatever.
yeah, sit next to each other and talk
Yeah.
about
Go for a
eat
drive. You
eat
want to
some
do this?
snacks or yeah,
Exactly. It
whatever.
doesn't have to be, let's talk about the illness or the inevitable passing. You don't have to have those kind of conversations. But I'm telling you, it's incredibly liberating when you can and when that person is ready. And I hope when it's my time, I'm going to have all kinds of conversations. I hope to have those. I want people around me.
Yeah.
And I want to tell stories and I want to laugh and I want to, do crazy things and I want to be able to fully express whatever is happening for me and for them. And I want to bear witness to them and I want them to bear witness to me. That's why we're freaking here.
And depending on what their symptoms are, right? Like the injury, the stress, the bodily, rest that they need. Yeah, respect that. Of course, you can be with someone and be present, and it can have a positive impact, or you can be with someone you can, make it worse. So like be a positive impact, be a positive energy, like just hold that space, even just be like, yep, we're good over here. You're good over there.
Let me tell you what not to do.
Please do. Seen this go horribly wrong. I have a feeling. Okay.
Again, trying to do this without judgment. I've seen this. I probably have done it, but I definitely have witnessed it and been like, what the fuck? Don't make that person responsible for your feelings. Okay, so you do have grief and you might have resentment or regret or whatever all the things are you have. That's your story. Don't bring that to the person who is in the battle and drop your shit on them. Right?
Yeah, no more
Like you got
drama.
to be careful with that.
They need no more drama, so
No.
like low stress zone, low
I've seen
intensity.
people literally, they are on their way to exiting the building and they're worried about how is so and so going to do, and how is this, and how is my illness or death or whatever going to hurt them, and that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's a no-go. Okay, sorry, that was my little rant, but I had
Thank
to
you.
get out
Well,
there.
I want to shift to a little bit to something we talked about sharing, and that is like the honoring of them,
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah,
I'll
let's flip
share
to the positive.
a couple things. So one of the things my friend did, and when her mom was, laying in bed after she passed, is somebody had brought a bunch of flowers, so she put the flowers all around her. And they're, like I said, mom's aggressive kindness was like snacks and whatever. And so they just like put in the bed with her kind of the honoring of
Snacks.
like, yeah, like little Oreos. She was famous for giving out Oreos. Oreos, and then cards. So Planet Gale had a bunch of subscribers, and they rallied around her. Yeah, so they sent cards to her and the flowers, and just like it made my friend feel good to just
Mm.
have her be with the things that were a part of her life, were her message, if you will.
That
Just
is freaking so beautiful.
it was. It
I'm
was
just going to throw in this crazy story because as you were
yeah.
telling this, I was thinking about some friends I have experienced after they passed and what we did or didn't do. And then kind of what my idea is about myself is I will be leaving things for other people because that's how I roll. So I will be leaving homework assignments in essence. And y'all best get ready for these homework assignments. So I plan to be cremated, so there will be ashes. And I'm a pretty decent sized human. There'll be a lot of ashes. I'm gonna spread this shit around. I
Gotta
mean, this
run
is my
across the
pixie dust.
country. Somebody's got to run across the country and sprinkle like a little.
Pixie dust, like for real. If you get a little vial of Samantha pixie dust with a homework assignment, that's no joke. You got to make that shit happen. Okay. So, and it will be in a way of honoring and celebrating me. Like there's so many ways to do that. And with other friends, I have gotten things back. I have gotten notes. I have gotten pieces left for me, things left for me. I've gotten some people's ashes. I've all kinds of, and it's always been a little bit different. And it was kind of whatever was going on for that person and how that went. But I just love, there are so many different ways to honor somebody and pay tribute to their life, to celebrate their life. Be as creative as you want. Plan your own damn funeral. I have to tell you about something amazing I watched.
Okay.
I watch a lot of amazing things. One was about legal euthanasia for people dying who have terminal illnesses. It's a Netflix miniseries. We'll put a little in the show notes. Blew my mind. Blew my mind. Gave me a really incredible experience. I do have some people that have chosen that path. and it gave me a greater understanding for where they were at with it and all of that stuff. And that inevitably might be something I have to choose. And then another was a docu-series called You Can't Ask That. And
Oh
one
yeah.
of the series was, or one of the episodes was on terminally ill. And they
Mm.
interviewed terminally ill people who are young, all ages, all different. It was so beautiful, incredible. It was very empowering to hear
Wow.
what these people were doing and how they felt about it and what they were getting up to with their life while they were still here and the impact they want to have and all that
Mm.
stuff.
Mm.
And many of them were planning their own funeral and their
Mm.
own celebration of life.
Mm.
And there was some cool shit ideas. And I was like, this is so amazing. So I'm not a traditional religious person. And so those kind of things around ceremony, I don't really connect or relate to, but I respect that. But there's 1,000 different ways to honor somebody.
So true.
And
So
shouldn't it
true.
be a reflection of their life, their
Mm.
desires, their wishes, their
Mm.
legacy?
Yeah. Especially
Right?
if you know it in advance and you can like write that like I think there was a friend of mine's a friend of a friend. Anyway, he was older, maybe 78, and he planned a party for his
Oh,
family afterward. And I remember here recently they were at the party, like they were having the party that he planned. You
I'm
know?
having a party too. A
So,
friend of mine, she
and then
lost
handing out
her
homework, a party and
her
handing
wife,
out
and it
homework.
was a huge party. Like literally, we were in San Francisco on the Bay of San Francisco, overlooking the freaking bay in
Mm.
this. It was gorgeous. It was incredible. The amount, the hundreds of people were there was a little bit like, whoa, damn, this person has touched some freaking lives. And the stories and the photographs, and there was music. I mean, it was really exquisite,
Wow.
you know. And I thought, damn. And they did know she was going to pass. It was a terminal cancer. I don't know how much her wife had to plan in,
Yeah.
actually planning the party, but
Boy, I would love to tell some of those stories. That just sounds like a whole like the celebration. I was thinking of just sharing like a couple little like small honorings. Like I when I heard so I had this friend, I was probably in my late 20s and sad she drank herself to death. Like she was in another state. We became friends in our early 20s, moved away, didn't talk to her too much. Anyway, found out she died of alcoholism. Oh, so like I was like, oh, I just want to honor her, and it was a little sudden, didn't know about it. So I just gathered a bouquet of flowers, and a friend of mine's like, I'll go with you. We hiked up to the top of this mountain and just did an honoring ceremony with that, and shed flowers on her behalf. And then I had a dear friend that was a really close friend of mine. He passed a little suddenly of a heart attack. And he was a big kayaker. He loved kayaking in the Morro Bay and the water and stuff. And so I just got some flowers and I went out there and just like near the kayaks and I just, put flowers in the ocean and honoring him, in whatever way works for you. And it's different for anyone. And I mean, there's places in different parts of this world where it's a freaking celebration and party. Like they go out
totally,
beautifully in a bonfire or whatever, right? Instead of this
totally.
word loss. Like I'm not relating, like, especially when we talk about, this veil, like, so we're gonna start getting into the woo-woo a little bit, I think, here with my study of near-death experiences and just
Mm.
the amazingness that is this perspective we have of what human life is as opposed to death is, right? And I don't know all the religious texts and what they say about it, but I've heard of the pearly gates and the God meets you in the clouds kind of thing, and you get this judgment, and I'm like, that ain't what people are talking about. That's not what people are talking about who have done it for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and then they come back or in their coma for 3 months, whatever. None of that,
Mhm.
it's
No judge and jury.
none of that. It's pure bliss, love, peace, harmony, all, just like they're like, it is undescribable, the love. Like they said, our planet, we don't have words, we have nothing that can compare to it. It's 100x any kind of version of love you've ever felt, and it's instantaneous. You come out of the body and you're in that field, and it's like, why would we look at that as lost? Like they're fat, like, and a lot of them have this when they different ones have like, oh, they go through a tunnel, da, 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 whatever. They're all often talk about being magnetized to a light, and that when they get close to the light and they get into that field, it's like, that's home. It's not lost. Actually, you talk about we're all walking each other back
Home.
home.
Hmm.
It's absolutely home. And it's like all the ones that I hear about, especially the ones that have something painful before they pop out of their body, they're like, oh, thank God I'm out of that thing.
The
Like
relief.
it's a huge, they're like,
Hmm.
oh, that's not me. That's just like a body that I came to inhabit. But the soul is eternal and endless and love and it's joy and it feels fantastic to be, quote, dead. And
Mm.
ever since I've started studying this, I'm like, take me anytime, all good. Like, I'm happy alive, I'm happy dead, and so much what they talk about is, we have these identities, let's say, that like how we see ourselves and these limiting beliefs of, what we're capable of or not capable of. And over there, they're like, you're actually still yourself. Like, your soul, your core of who you are, is still the core of who you are, whether you're like a blob or an orb or whatever the perception you have, you're not in a body. So
Hmm.
it's like you're not lost. You're actually just more you instead of all these things, and especially when you have any kind of a psychedelic or a plant medicine journey, oftentimes I think that part of that opens you up to shedding what the mind construct looks like. So you can see that before death, if you will, and realize, oh my God, what is going on here? Right. So my paradigm now has fully shifted to death is not a place that you're lost, place that, and you too, like you say, you have conversations, right? Like, how can we share about that?
Exactly. So one of the things I want to mention, well, kind of tagging onto what you just said is, depending on your belief system and, how you feel about things, aren't we all part of the earth and the planets? Right? So we're all energy. And so there's this physical body, of course. But then when the physical body is gone, just the physical body is gone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you can think about things like, do we go back to the earth? Are we part of the
Mm.
earth at that point, or part of the atmosphere, or what do we? It's
We're
impossible
fertilizer.
kind of to
The
be
body,
nothing.
the body becomes fertilizer, where it's the energy that comes in and out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's cool to think about some different philosophies, whatever that might be, whether it's
Mm.
reincarnation or going back to the earth and becoming part of the soil, and then ultimately regenerating the damn tree that's right there, or feeding the animals, or whatever. Whatever you want to think about all that stuff. It's kind of limitless
Mm.
how you can, and depending on like your experience or my experience. So there's that. Open up your mind to other possibilities. And then secondarily, for me, what I have heard a lot from people and what I initially felt and battled with and then had to make peace with and kind of figure out for myself is not being able to talk to that person again. Just the
Mm.
the pain and grief and heaviness of that was shattering,
Mm.
heartbreaking. And
Mm.
so, in trying to understand that, A, is that even true? And B, can I choose another way that maybe will allow me to feel differently about this and
Mm.
not be stuck in that cycle of suffering?
The disconnection, like, oh, they're gone. Okay.
Uh-huh. Is, well, that actually isn't true for me anymore. So I started to open my mind to, I can talk to these people whenever I damn well feel
Mm.
like it, because they're still there in the energy field or in the earth or whatever your belief system is. Figure it out, but they're still there. And then for me, these people visit me. They'll visit me in energy, but they'll show up mostly when I'm in nature. A lot of
Mm.
times it's an animal form, and I right
Mm.
away will feel the energy of a particular person. Could be
Mm.
my mother, could be my friend, could be whatever. There they are. Our friend who passed away from suicide last year, like, she's definitely in black crows. Anytime a black crow, I'm like, okay, I hear you, I see you. Like, I'm not ignoring you. Let's have a chit chat, check in, you know.
Mm.
And it's really fun for me. It feels
Mm.
good. It fills my soul. It makes my heart feel warm. It makes me feel connected to them. And we have our little chit chat and experience. And then I go on about my day.
Mhm.
And it's quite beautiful. and
Yeah.
just lovely, So there's lots of different ways you can go about this kind of stuff to feel connected to them still and to have conversations with them still.
Yeah, and I think there's, everyone has as the people who channel or connect very intuitively and easily, they would say that we all have that capability. It's
Mm-hmm.
whether we honor it, we practice it, we open up the doorways to it. So whatever your belief system is, if you like the sound of that, you're like, give it a try.
But there's nothing spooky about it.
Yeah.
These people were in our life,
Yeah.
many of them part of our DNA.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're still part of us. Like I'm literally a result of my parents and my ancestors' DNA. And you're going to try and tell me they're not still in my DNA?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What the hell? Of course, I mean, that's just science.
You guys are tuned in, right?
Let's go
Tuned
walking
in.
around together.
Yeah.
You
And I
know?
think there's a lot of movies that have like bastardized ghosts or something, like the idea of ghost is like a scary thing. It's like, okay, we're not talking about ghost, whatever, forget what you've seen in movies and stuff. That's not it. It's like the essence, the core, the soul, the energy, like you're talking about. And what I hear a lot in these NDEs is it's just different over there. Like there's no time, there's no space, there's no body, there's no talking, there's no ears, whatever. It's just a lot of oneness and love. And like if you do recognize different energies, like let's say you're an orb and I'm an orb, whatever, just relatively, like we communicate quickly, osmosisly. It's like
Mhm.
I have a thought about you, boop, you know about it, and like you feel it, like a knowing, right? Or and there's lots of that, and it just,
I told you a story about trail running last week with a friend of mine who is on this
oh
religious
yeah.
path. She's going on the Camino. We were just talking about all kinds of different things, getting to know each other. She's really one of my gym buddies. I didn't know that well, So hey, let's go trail running. And I asked her about her religious beliefs and kind of this pilgrimage that she's going on, etc. And she shared with me her belief about death, and in particular, a story of she's asleep, pregnant with her daughter, and during her nighttime sleep or in the space that she wasn't really sure if she was sleeping or not, she was visited by her grandmother who had
Mm,
passed.
wow.
Clear as day. And grandma gave her some very specific instructions and information about the baby girl that she was going to give birth to. Oh, you're going to have a girl. And it was fascinating, the stuff that she was telling her
Wow.
when she was going to be born. It really was trippy stuff. Okay. And then the grandmother told her to go, get up and go do something. And she did that act after she woke up and discovered more information about her family and her heritage
Wow.
in some documentation that she would have otherwise maybe never looked at, etc. It was just trippy thing. And she
Wow.
was like, so I feel for myself, her beliefs are that there are angels and they
Mm,
come back and visit and they will share information with you, whether you're asleep, awake, whatever is happening.
mm,
And you can do whatever you want with that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But for her, it was incredibly loving and empowering and
mm.
makes her feel very strongly about her own passing and her own connection to others. And it's just was a beautiful story. And this is just us trail running up and down the mountain for an hour.
Yeah.
But what I love, and the reason I'm telling this story is, can we just encourage more conversation?
Yeah.
Like not to judge each other. I didn't say, well, angels aren't real. What the hell? You must have been hallucinating while you're sleeping and making you were in a dream state. No, it was like, your story is incredible.
Mm, mm.
It's not my story, but it's your story. And I love the fact that we're able to even talk about these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Discover
It
for
shouldn't be
ourselves.
taboo.
Yeah, because exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I think that discovering more, like, what I know there's people listening to this, and my mind, us included, there's things that we know now that we didn't believe were possible or were different 10 years ago, or 10
Oh,
years before that, right?
yeah. Last
So
week.
maybe some of what we're talking about or somebody's sharing with you, you just haven't discovered yet for yourself, but maybe they're, somebody's, shares, it's like, hey, like we're all in different classrooms, right? And it's like, oh, hey, I've learned this about this. Oh, let me look at what you're learning. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe it's not for you right now and, it doesn't fascinate you or doesn't resonate. Okay, but just take a listen. I love your curiosity. Always curious and discovering, right? Like,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And making these conversations not be taboo.
Hmm.
Like, I have a mother in law who's 96. She's going to leave us at some point. I'm going to leave the world at some point. Why can't I have a conversation with her about how does she feel about that? How does she want her life to be celebrated? Is there anything that she wants for her legacy that I can help facilitate? If I don't know these things, I can't do these things. Like, I want to pay deep respect and honor to her, of course, but I need to unpack that from her wild brain.
Well, and I remember, this is probably 15 years ago, trying to have conversations with my mom, as she, let's say, was creating a trust or something like that. And it was like, nope,
Mm,
neither one of us we just could not have the conversation. It was just too sensitive and raw and stuff. And then, as one gets older, then you think like, well, we need to have I mean, like literally when she was in the hospital, she hadn't signed her will. I was like, bitch,
wow.
you need to sign the will. What are we doing here? But
Mhm.
like, don't wait for that and just have a different, it can be hard and you can get through it. You can have the courage, you're going to be okay, right? You're going to be okay having the, like, rip the duct tape off your mouth and
Mhm.
talk about those things, have uncomfortable feelings, have uncomfortable that can become more comfortable. That's how we have, a comfort zone is because something that was uncomfortable suddenly became comfortable and that's our new normal, right? So
Mhm.
telling somebody you love them, telling them you're sorry, telling them the things that you don't want to wait until you tell them, right?
And if this is really, really hard for you to face, either for yourself or about people that you love, like it's just so hard for you to embrace the reality, it
Mm,
is perhaps a good idea to get a round of community where they're talking about it, where it is an accepted conversation. Buddhism is one example, but there are other spaces or groups or religions or whatever where it is part of a really like Day of the Dead is
mm,
an incredible celebration of all people who have died before us in a
yeah.
really incredibly artistic, like magical celebratory way. So in
Mm,
cultures, there are great opportunities
mm, mm,
if you're part of one of these cultures or you're curious about them to
mm,
go show up and be like, oh, wow, okay,
mm,
this is a normal part of this journey. I can
mm.
probably
So
take it down a few notches.
So I have a thought about like our one thing, and I would love to
Okay.
hear yours. Like, it's that, I mean, we say this so often on this podcast, but it's like always, it's like, don't wait. Like, say the thing, do the thing, talk to the person, um, be in the uncomfortable space. Like, do the thing that maybe feels awkward or uncomfortable, or, oh, but I promise you on the other side of it, there's some juice closer to love, closer to your freedom, closer to your connection with them and self. And that's really what we're all longing for, right? How about
Mhm.
you?
Well, for me, it's the tattoo, right? So
Yeah.
it's like every day and literally every moment, it's a
Mm,
reminder for me that
mm,
we are all just here to walk each other home.
mm,
So every moment and opportunity and experience I have with another human of complete strangers, homeless man living in the trees by the church that I drive by on a regular basis and sometimes connect to and bring stuff to, all the way up to my dearest, closest friends. Like, we're on this journey together. All of us are going in the same direction,
mm.
walking home.
Yeah.
And so, really be there with one another, like, really be present and open to experiencing that together. And a reminder to myself that I'm also never alone.
Mm, mm,
Never. Even
mm.
after this physical body is gone, I'm actually going to make a lot more friends. I mean, I'm just saying,
You
now
think
I'm
you'll
not
be
limited to this like constraint of this body
like how
and
many you
this.
can touch in a day?
I'll
Like,
be like, whoa, whoa. Now I'm in how many millions of pieces floating in the atmosphere? What the heck? And
they're
then
not
when
going
y'all, and then when you all get your homework assignments,
to
my little, I mean, I'm gonna be everywhere.
they're not going to be ready for you over there. They're going to be like, y'all, okay, the
Whoa. Who
supernova is about
invited her to the party? Supernova. That's
this
awesome.
supernova has just popped out of her body and she's here, y'all. She's here. So good. I
So
love
yeah, that's my last one thing.
Well, thank you for listening to us today. We hope that this topic of, a little bit around the grief fatigue and the caregiving and the connecting with one another and honoring one another and wherever you are and giving yourself permission to be whatever. If you're in the caregiving phase, honoring that. And if you're in the grief phase or a friend of yours is, honoring that. It's all whole, complete, and perfect just the way it is. So,
Yeah. And don't be afraid of death, of
yeah.
passing out of this physical body.
Watch one NDE story on YouTube and it's like, poof, your mind will be blown. Like, yeah, there's that sounds like a freaking party over there. It sounds amazing.
Watch one story of a person with a terminal illness sharing how they feel about it, and you'll be like, got it.
Got it. Let's do this. This thing called life. That's what we're up to. All right. What do we want to remind them about their lives and their
Girl, how your life looks? It's not important. Only how it feels.
Yeah. And every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.